Okay. Again, introductory training to the Table 7 software. We're going to give you a quick overview of some of the features, contents, and some of the basic tools that you want to start practicing with. When you do get your tables, they are run on a Windows 10 computer, so treat them like you would any other computer. The only difference is you're talking about a very large touchscreen. But once you open up the table application software, you'll see a big icon on your desktop. All you have to do is load it up, and then this will pull up a main menu. So this main menu right here has all the different content that's available to you. I will quickly touch on what each one of these tabs contains, but we're really only going to go through some of the features and training for the main gross anatomy and high resolution data. So the first thing here, open file. If you have access to CT and MRI scans, you can actually view them here. So you can see here's a little history that I have, but you'll want to bring the scan on a thumb drive to your table, and they have to be raw DICOM files. So uncompressed DICOM files, you'll want to pull the scan off of a CD if it's on a CD, and then you'll see a list of .dcm or .dicom files. Then you'll just plug in your thumb drive, hit browse, and you can go pull from your thumb drive and open up the scan. Again, for the sake of today, we're not going to review this, but you'll definitely go through that in training. And if you do want to review that, we can always set up additional trainings with you and others at your school. Gross anatomy. 4 full body cadavers based on real people. They all come from the Visible Human and Visible Human Korean projects. So I'll come back and talk about that in a little bit when we start the training in the gross anatomy, which is, again, where we'll do the bulk of this session. High resolution regional anatomy. So all of these data sets here are entirely based on the Asian cadavers. They're simply just a small region of that cadaver. So instead of having the full body, we're talking about the heart, the abdomen, thorax, brain, coming down here to different limbs. And what we're doing is we're enhancing the resolution of the data. So there may be some key details and features and kind of minute details that you will see here in the high resolution that you may not see in the full body cadavers. So these are 0.2 to 0.4 millimeter resolution. The cadavers are 0.6 to 0.8 or even 1 millimeter. So you might lose some of that detail. So if you're talking about the knee, if you're talking about the brain, the lungs, etc., all you have to do is go into directly to the high resolution regional anatomy, and you don't have to worry about going to the full cadaver and isolating and breaking down. Functionally, the high resolution and the gross anatomy, they work identically. So every tool, feature, all the how-to documents, what works for one works for the other. Again, it's essentially the same data, just small region. Back to the main menu here, physiology. We're not going to go too much in detail. I will show you the heart motion regional scan. This is a beating heart. And for all the rest, you can refer to the how-to documents for anything else that you might need. They're pretty straightforward, but again, refer to those how-to documents or those tutorial videos, and they'll cover everything you need to know here in physiology. Case library.
This is just what we just went through with the.
Somebody just joined, I believe. If you don't mind putting yourself on mute. Case library. So this is a collection of CT and MRI scans. This is a library of over 1,500 cases. There's a ton. So we have them grouped in certain ways that you can go in and sort and filter. And we also have a PDF that covers everything that you need, everything in the library, and you can simply come over here and search in the menu. So these are broken up by different regions over here: head and neck, thorax, upper limb, lower limb, so on and so forth. And you can click a region and search within that region, and you can also search only MRI or only CT. Specialty, you have neurocardiology, so a bunch of different groups of specialties here that you can go, and again, you can click on one and search within it, or you can simply scroll through the list and then double click on any of these to open. Whenever you highlight one of these cases, you'll see on the right hand side here some case information. Not every case has case information. It just depends on what we received from the contributor. Sometimes we have a great detail of information, a great wealth of information. Sometimes we don't really have any detail at all. So you can filter through different specialties. Segmentation here, we've taken small regions of the CT scan and segmented out as a 3D model. And then other, we have some animal scans. And actually the dog and the cat are sliced similar to the cadavers. So these are dog and cat cadavers. We have archaeology scans, 4D, which is beating heart, moving brain, and comparison cases. So you can compare up to 3 cases simultaneously. For example, different pelvic bone fractures, hip replacements, 3 different cases side by side. Moving on to histology, collection of histology images. So these are also sorted and organized in specific ways. So you can search by tissue type, you can search by organ system. Within each section here, if you select a specific system or select a specific tissue type, you can always additionally filter down by one of these filters down here. Curriculum, we have annotated CT scans under the DICOM anatomy, broken down by region. And then I'll show you in a little bit segmented anatomy, but based on each cadaver. We have some pre-created views here. They're almost like textbook style images that you can use. And lastly, prosection. We worked with Stanford's Cadaver Lab to take a series of images of their prosections, and what you have here is just a region or a section of that cadaver, and we have some colored labels, and you can do additional things like pinning it, annotating it, and creating quizzes and stuff out of those. And lastly, minimize. Click to minimize the window. This will be very helpful when you're at your table. You can actually load up multiple different data sets. So once you have the initial cadaver loaded up, press the home button to bring you back to the main menu, and you can always hit minimize and go load up a different data set. Help, if you click help, you'll get this kind of list of different all the different categories in the main menu, and within each category you can click on like how to use the pen tool, how to use quiz mode, etc., etc. So these are going to link you to the how-to documents I mentioned earlier. And then lastly, exit application will simply close out this application or press cancel to get rid of the main menu bar. All right, any questions about all this, the general overview? Again, we're not going to touch on everything for the sake of today's introduction. We're just going to focus here on gross anatomy and high resolution. All righty. In the cadaver, once you get over here, if we were at the table, you would just use one finger to kind of rotate left, right, up, down, rotate all about the cadaver. Right now, since I'm on my computer, and if you've used Table on Cloud at all, it's a left click of the mouse, click and hold to do this rotation. 2 fingers simultaneously. We'll do a pan or move function. On the computer, it's going to be shift and hold the left click. And then if you want to zoom, just like you would zoom on an image on your phone or tablet, on the table, you're going to take 2 fingers and zoom, pinch, pull your 2 fingers to zoom in and out. And then on the computer, it's going to be control. Hold control, left click, and out. All right, we're just going to jump right into, actually, sorry, a couple more things here. So you probably noticed I was all zoomed in kind of sideways here. If you want to quickly reorient your cadaver back to one of these standard positions, we've got some icons here on the left-hand side, coronal, sagittal, axial, these different planes. Click one, and that'll always reposition into a standard view. Make things easier rather than you trying to rotate and move and bring it all back to default. All right, these 2 slider bars down here, grab the top one. So this will allow you to actually start peeling away some layers. Go ahead and start dragging to remove. I'm just doing it real slowly here. You notice it fades with the transparency, but we can go all the way down to remove everything. And then on the bottom slider bar, this is all of your vasculature. So arteries, veins, nervous, lymphatic system. Bring all that into play. This is great for presentations, tours, just giving general overviews, quick way to peel away layers in and out. But what you really want to do when you start using the table is start to get into your customizing your own views. So that's where this eye icon comes into play, the visibility menu. This is the most important menu in the software. This is really where you got to come in and start to practice, because it takes a little bit of time, but it's very powerful. I'm going to move it out of the way here just a little bit so we can see what's happening behind. So this menu, the visibility menu, is organized as a hierarchy. So you have your system column over here on the left-hand side. Simply select a system and it'll bring up a category or all the categories for that system. And then select the category and that'll bring up all the structures for that specific category. So when you want to come in and customize, typically what I say is let's turn everything off. So there's a quick way to do it. Bottom left-hand corner here, you have the check mark that'll toggle everything on or off. Or you can go one by one through these systems, but that'll take you a little bit of time. You can turn everything off, and then we can start to customize specific views. So maybe you do want the skeletal system. We want to throw in digestive. We can do that. Once you select one of these rows, we can come over here, select another row, and I can just toggle off peritoneum only if I want. We can be a little bit more intentional about what we want to see. If you do not want every structure in the system to toggle on, then again, highlight that row, but don't check the box. So checking the box turns it on. Highlighting the row opens up your next column. And then I can come over here, and again, I can select only one structure if I really want. So I can, here's just a few vertebrae. So we can start to build our views from very small, very specific, and start to add and go up to like a gross superficial view, or we could potentially start large and work our way down. But so we can come over here. Let's go in. I'm going to toggle on our pelvic bones. We're going to keep the ligaments out of it. We'll do the spine. We'll do the rib cage. So notice how I'm very zoomed in, so I can always come back over here, to these three face icons on the left-hand side here. Click. All right. So that's the basic overview here of how to navigate the visibility menu. Any questions there before we move on? All right, great. So once you have this initial view set up, let me go back here, throw in our digestive, turn off peritoneum. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So the next most important aspect of the software is once you've gone in and created your custom view, you want to save it. The last thing you want to do is walk away and not save it, and then you'll have to recreate this over and over and over again. So that's where the presets come into play, the little 1, 2, 3, 4 button down here at the bottom. Click the little 1, 2, 3, 4, select the gear, and what you'll do now is you'll hit the plus to actually save your preset. Think about this just a custom view. I've already got a couple saved here. I'm not really concerned with those. I'm gonna just hit the plus, and I can either add it as number 3. So if I'm continuing another preset file that I've been creating, we can certainly add to the list and continue with our creation, or we can just select number 1 and save over preset number 1 and replace what was there. I can click in the number bubble here and hit the minus to delete. Or if you click on the image itself, that'll load in a preview it'll load in that specific preset. So we can click on the image to load it in, click on the number bubble to be able to actually like delete it. Hit the minus sign. You wish to remove, yes. And there we have it. A few things about the presets. You can have an unlimited number of presets here in our list. So don't be shy about creating presets, but we'll want to actually go in and save those. So the analogy I like to use is PowerPoint. When you're creating your views here in the preset menu, you're creating your slides. You haven't actually saved anything. So somebody can actually come in, save over those presets, remove them. So what you'll want to do when you're done creating your views is you'll click on that preset, or you'll check all of them, and you can actually export VPF. So now I can plug in my thumb drive when I'm at my table, go here, name the file, and save that onto my USB. Or we can also add to folder. So we can, down here, there's a little folder under add to folder. You can actually create folders within the software. So when you're going in and doing that, we can give it a folder name. We'll just call this training. And you actually have the option of entering a PIN number. So let's say you want to save a few quizzes directly here on the table, but you don't want students to have access, so you can PIN protect your folder. I'm going to create a training folder name. We've selected preset number 1. I'm going to add the folder. Double tap on our training folder, and then we'll have the option of naming our preset. I'll call this digestive. So now when we enter our training folder, we've got our digestive preset. So we're just getting started here. Let's go in and continue to customize this digestive preset view and start adding more presets. Maybe you want to create a quiz out of it or an activity for our students. So I want to go in and show you different ways that we can identify, label, mark various structures. The first way to do that, we're going to jump back into the eye here, and that's with annotations. So I'm going to move this out of the way just a bit. We have this little circle with the A in it. For each category and for each structure, there's a color wheel and an A for annotation. So all you have to do is click the A to label a specific structure, or we can click the A. So I'm going to click the A on GI tract category, and it'll actually label every structure. So that might be too much in certain instances, so let's turn that off. And then again, what you can do is you can come over here, click the category, click the structure, and then we can just toggle on one by one just a handful of annotations that we might want. We'll call that good. So now we have annotations for some of these structures. Now let's make sure that we go in and save that preset again, because we don't want to lose this view. So we'll click the little 1, 2, 3, 4 button at the bottom, click the gear, click the plus, and then I'll select number 2. We'll continue on in our list. Boom, so there we have it. Preset 1, just a kind of clean base view. Preset 2, we've got some annotations. Let's keep going here. I like to save presets, so instead of going in and turning off all these annotations, all we need to do is go back to preset number 1 here, and boom, we can pick up where we left off. Another key feature here is the pin menu. So down at the bottom left next to the home button is the pin menu. That's again bottom left. Open up the pins. From left to right, you have 5 different styles of numbered pins. So you'll simply click a style, and then you'll tap on the structure where you want to place that pin. And we'll do that every time you want to place a pin. We'll click that icon again in the pin menu and place. Click on that pin menu, place, so on and so forth. You'll notice the pin has a little yellow ball, so we can grab that ball and actually move and rotate and pivot that pin. So for example, if you were creating this on the table and your students are interacting with it on the table, maybe not a big deal how the pin sits because we can rotate and interact with it. But if you're taking screenshots, then we'd want to open these faces up just a little bit so students can actually see on the screenshot. Now we can create numbered quizzes, presets, images, etc. Great way to create a homework assignment. So let's go save this preset, little 1, 2, 3, 4 again at the bottom. Press the gear, hit the plus, number 3, hit the green check to save, and there we go. With these pins, so if you want to modify the pin in any way, trying to click number 3 here, you can't unless you open up that pin menu again. So go down to the bottom left, open up the pin menu, and now I can actually click on the pin, and we can delete it by pressing the X in the pin menu. You can renumber it if you select the pin number drop down and change that pin number. We can move the pin by grabbing the red box. So you only have the numbers 1 through 10 for each pin style. If I click a different pin style, so I'll click the star pin here, then I'll place that. It actually restarts the numbering from number 1. So You can place up to 50 pins since there are 5 different styles, but you do only get the numbers 1 through 10 for each style. So keep that in mind. You can either set up multiple presets, or you can place 2 different, name the circle pin, name the star pin, etc. Maybe a specific lab group gets a specific pin style that they have to answer. So there's some options there that you can certainly work with. We also have a lumbar needle and a syringe that you can place. So up to 5 of each, but as far as usage goes, how would you use these? You can start to actually touch on, I call it simulation. It's not quite simulation, but we can start to touch on the anatomy of specific injections. So let's say a lumbar puncture. We have any sort of local anesthesia, you have epidural. So we can actually go in and place these pins in these precise locations and talk about where exactly you would be inserting these. So you can start to create presets like that. And then lastly, delete all. We can just delete everything that's in our scene. I'm not going to get into this today, but the last icon here on the very far right of the menu is the import import model option. So if you have 3D models, let's say of a specific medical device, specific implant, you can actually bring that in here with the import button. It has to be an STL, PLY, or OBJ file, but you can import that model, overlay it. So maybe you've got a pacemaker, you have a specific plate, screw, something like that that you want to implant. You can certainly create presets like that. Okay, one last way to identify structures that I want to, or one of the main ways to identify structures is with colors. So I'm going to go back into the eye. Again, for each system, for each category, for each structure, you'll see a color wheel on that row. If you select the color wheel for the system and you apply a color, every structure in that system will get colored. So certainly that's probably not the best way to go in this case. So I'm going to go to my GI tract category, go to a specific structure, and then I can hit the color wheel. And so again, you have 4 color options that are just there by default. But what we can do is there's a little arrow in the top right-hand corner of that white box. You can open that to get more color options. And actually, if you hit other, you get even more. You have access to any color that you want. So this is a great way to go in and create. We'll just go in, color, bunch of structures. I'll skip the esophagus. Color a bunch of structures. And now you can actually ask students, okay, name the green structure, name the blue structure, name the so on and so forth. We can certainly pin it and do colors. We can pin, color, and annotate, so you're not limited to one or the other. So let's go ahead and save this preset. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, gear, plus the number 4. Okay. So now we have 4 presets saved. If we wanted to overlay some annotations, you could certainly do that. Again, back into the eye. So notice that every structure that we colored now has their color wheel icon illuminated. So that's an indicator for you, telling you that you applied some setting there. So we can quickly just press the A here, and we can create like a question answer preset. So we've colored these structures, and then I'm going to save another preset with the 5. Boom. So now we have, all right, so students name the colored structures here. Number 4, number 5, you could just easily just overlay the answers for them. So So those are the big ways to identify structures. They're all 3D entities. So what I mean by that is they all move and rotate with the cadaver, with the model, colors, pins, annotations. Another way we can identify structures is you can use the draw tool. So over here on the far left-hand side, there's a little pen icon right over here. So select a specific pen and we can draw on the screen. So we can start drawing arrows, we can label in different ways. So you can write certainly if you want. I can place arrows actually. So you don't have to draw an arrow, you can easily just place the arrow. You can place some text. And if you want to edit some settings, so hit the gear over here in the pen tool menu, and you can actually change the thickness and the color of the arrows that you want to use. So now I want a big, bold yellow arrow. Adjust the size and color of the text. And if you select the rainbow pen here with the star, you can change the thickness and color of your pen stroke. So all of these drawings that we're using, these are all 2D entities. So if we were on the table, it'd be like you're writing on the surface of the glass or the surface of the screen. So when I move my cadaver model here, those drawings do not move with it. So again, 2D. So if you wanted to save those, we can save a preset. So I'm going to come over here, back to our presets, hit the gear, save as number 6. We can save them as a preset. So let me go to a different one here, go back to number 6. They all show up, but again, keep in mind that it is just a 2D entity. So once you start to rotate, you lose a little bit of that exact positioning. But if you've saved your preset, you can always jump right back to that preset. And of course, at any point in time, if you'd like, we can take a screenshot. So on the far left-hand side here, the camera icon, you have 3 different screenshot options. So you can take a picture of the entire screen, which includes the icons that you see here in the software. The middle icon is the entire screen without those table icons. And then the scissors icon would be you come over here and choose a section, just like the Windows snipping tool. So this would be a great way to go in, customize presets, save via screenshot, and upload those directly to like Blackboard, Google, to Canvas, Google Classroom, any learning management system that you have. You can actually go ahead and take a screenshot, upload it directly, and boom, there's a homework assignment that you've just created using these images. Okay, a few other things I want to talk about with presets. So we saved preset number 1 way at the beginning when we first started, but we haven't saved anything since. So that means all of these sitting here in this list still haven't been actually saved. So we created our slides, our PowerPoint slides, but we haven't actually saved the file or the collection of the images that we created. So let's go in here, select all with the check mark at the bottom left. Now it turns up in blue. And then again, if you want to save it to a thumb drive or directly to your table, you would export VPF and name it. Or if you want to add it to a folder here, training, and we can, it'll actually, since I use the exact same name, it'll give me the option to overwrite that existing preset. Like yes. You can have an unlimited number of presets. However, I recommend you keep them short and sweet and specific to the topic that you want to talk about. So I wouldn't come in here and just start creating presets on the brain all in the same list. What I would recommend is you actually come in here and select all of them and hit the minus and start with a fresh, clean slate. So now you can start from scratch and you don't have to worry about all these other presets getting in the way. If at any point in time you want to bring back presets, if you can either open up this folder here in the bottom right hand corner, click on the folder to open up your folder list, or you can connect a thumb drive and import VPF and bring in that preset. So I'm going to come to my folder, training, digestive. Boom, here's everything that we created. You can actually reorder them. So there's a little 3 next to the plus minus, there's a 3 stacked bars. You can click that to reorder presets if you'd like. Just click and drag on the right hand side of the image where the 3 bars are. In the folders, you have the Anatomage created presets, and these are those textbook style images I was talking about. So this is what the segmented curriculum is. You can click on all of these pre-created views, come over here. So maybe you can just use these right away, plug and play. You don't necessarily need to go and create anything. Maybe we have something there for you already. And a note about the annotations, if you actually click on an annotation and drag it around where you place it, it'll actually freeze into that location. So notice none of these are moving, they're fixed on the screen. So that's why that's the case. That's why that's happening. Click on that's saved with the preset, but if you were to create your own annotations or modify your own views, click, drag these around, and then they'll sit at that fixed position. Okay, any questions there? We know we sort of touched on a lot there, but that's really the essential kind of core part of the software. Customize your views under the eye icon down here at the bottom, the visibility menu, and then you save your presets. Customize, save, customize, save. So that's what I recommend you really get comfortable with, is practice with this visibility menu, practice saving them as presets, color, annotate, explore the different options here in the color wheel. So if I go back to my preset here, another thing that you can do, I'll click the color wheel for skeletal system, and we can make items transparent. So right next to the 2 slider bars here, we can adjust transparency. So those are some of the, again, some other options that you have. So there's really so many more things that you can do. We're just scratching the surface here. So any questions, anybody? So one of the questions in the chat was, if I have 12 presets, are they visible and accessible to other users too, or are they only visible to me as per my login credentials? So if you are on your actual large table, there are no login credentials. Everybody's using the same software. So if you have those 12 presets viewed in the list, or excuse me, saved in this list, those will remain there until somebody else comes in and either deletes them or loads in their own file. So if I were to load in another file right now, this would overwrite everything in this view. But if nobody else came in, maybe like at the start of class, you loaded in 12 presets, or in the morning, you loaded in 12 presets, those will remain there in the list. So that's good and bad. If you have a quiz that you just created, I recommend then that you delete all of these presets after you've saved and exported the VPF. If you do want them to stay there for other people to use, then you can absolutely just leave them there. Another thing that you can do is you can just add them to a folder so that you keep this list here clear and clean, and students or other teachers can come in to the folder list and go pick the specific ones that they want. So somebody else asked, we could each have separate folders for saved presets. So absolutely, like if you want, you could create a folder for each instructor, and that's certainly an option. But beyond, so if you created a folder for each instructor, then every preset file would be visible in the list. That may not be quite as organized as you want. So you could always export VPF, and then everyone can organize their presets based on week work week, based on lecture week, based on specific topics, based on lab activity. So you're a little bit limited into how you manage those folders and those files in our software. It would probably be better for you to just save them on the table in like the Windows menu and Windows folders or on a thumb drive, but it's certainly an option to save them here. And somebody asked, can you export presets via flash drive or via Bluetooth? So there's no Bluetooth capability. If you want to export presets to a thumb drive, so you would connect your thumb drive to the table, click all, or you don't even necessarily need all of them. You can select one by one the specific presets you want to export. Click on Export VPF button here in the center, and then that'll bring up your Windows menu. And then you just come over here and go find your USB drive that's plugged in on the left-hand side here. It'll say whatever, Alex USB, click on it, and then you can save. You'll go ahead and save that. So this would be like digestive. And then maybe you create one for neuro, cardio, heart, so on and so forth. So keep them short, keep them sweet, make it easier for you to go back and pull the file so you know exactly which file you need for exactly which activity or which lecture, which lab, etc. Make your life easy. And one thing I would also caution with presets is it's important to note which cadaver or which data set you created that preset in. So we're in the female Asian cadaver here. If I try and load in this preset file in any of the other cadavers, the software will try and replicate it, but it'll never be perfect. So when you export the preset outside of the software, so to a thumb drive or to the table, I recommend you say maybe digestive FA for female Asian, or female Asian, or you can come up with a name for her. We call her Vicky. So make sure you have some way you know, especially when you're in the high resolution data. So maybe in the high resolution data, you're using the female brain. So you'd want to maybe call this brain, female brain. Make sure you know exactly which data set it belongs to. Another question here. So is there any other way to save presets created for use in future for an exam other than export to flash drive? So my students cannot see exam questions in advance by opening folder with my name on it. So you have a couple options. Your option one would be save to a flash drive, which is what I recommend. That way nobody has access to it on the table itself or here in the folders. But again, if you hit the plus to create a folder here in the preset menu, you can pin protect your folder. So what I would do is I'm going to call this Alex, and then I'll set a pin, just 1, 2, 3, 4. And now anybody that wants to enter, oops, sorry. Okay, so now anybody that wants to enter my folder has to enter a pin number. So if you want to save it in the software, but you don't want them to access it, then make sure you lock your folder with a pin. Otherwise, I recommend just using a thumb drive. And then when it comes time to actually use that preset file for the exam, then you would come in and load it for them or load it up onto the table so they can import the day of. And then somebody else asked, is the software only on the table, or can we work on building things on the computer and take it to the table? I want to build a practical at home and then have it ready for the next day. So these VPF files, these interactive 3D content that we're creating, you can only view these preset files in our software on the table. And you can only create these VPF files in our software on the table. So in short, the answer is no, you cannot do it at home. However, we do have something called Concourse that you can try and install on your computer. We can get into the sort of these details a little bit later, but There's something called Concourse where you can actually install a light version of our software onto a computer, and then you can go in and do exactly what you're talking about. So if it's a laptop that you share amongst the table users and one person checks out that laptop to be able to use that software, you can do that. We do give you one license with each table. Or at the moment, what we have is due to COVID-19 and this remote learning environment, we have Table on Cloud, which is this exact software, but a cloud-based version. So what you can do is we can create you an account if you don't have one already, and you can use that cloud-based version to create some of these presets, save, download, save them, and then go take them to the table. So for the most part, you can't create these or view these outside of the table software, but we have a couple of these other applications that you can potentially use for that purpose. So Table on Cloud, which is the full table software, cloud-based version, or a limited light version of Concourse that requires you to download it and install it locally on a computer and run it off of that. The only issue with Concourse is you'll need a little bit more of a beefy computer than most just generic laptops that you have. Any other questions? A couple other neat things. If you double click on a structure, it brings up this action menu. So you can do some of the same things here that you can in the in the visibility menu. You can turn on and off a structure. If I go click a different one of these here, I'll click the ilium. We can add colors. We can make them transparent. We can annotate them. Certainly do all of that. If we're talking about bones here, I'll click on the ilium. We can add origins and insertion, these landmark features, then click on these to give you the name of that origin and insertion, or bony landmarks. So we apply these colored regions here, and you can click on the colored region to get the name of the specific landmark. So a couple more options there. Definitely there's a ton more things that we can talk about. So start practicing with the visibility menu, start practicing with the presets. We can certainly set up another online training with you and your teachers and other users and go through something like this again, or if there's other things that you want to go through, other content in the table, one of these other main sections, we can certainly do that. So I mentioned you get one license per table, so that is for Concourse. You get one license per table for that Concourse software, and then for the Table on Cloud, so that cloud-based version, we're currently doing one license per institution. So you can actually share that license and kind of share login times, but we're doing only one license per institution for the moment. But depending on how many users you have, we may be able to get you an additional one. Just depends. But generally, one license per table for Concourse, and then one license per institution for that cloud-based version of the software. And then there's only really one other thing I wanted to show in the physiology section. Give me a moment here. So in the physiology section, heart motion regional, what we have here is a beating heart. I'm gonna zoom out just a little bit. So you'll notice here in our ECG scroll, we're at 70 BPM. We're playing through, and we're just gonna slide this over just a little bit. Got our beating heart, and I'll show you some different presets here. We can click through different presets and look at different views. So here we've got the heart transparent, and certainly this is a view that you can create. And we're looking at the valves here, and as you adjust the heart rate, different options. Somebody else asked if we purchase 2 tables, will we get 2 licenses for the cloud and or concourse? So you would be able to get 2 licenses for concourse and 1 license for cloud. For the moment, cloud is temporary, for lack of a better word. As long as we're in this remote learning environment, we'll probably keep cloud as an option. But if things return back to normal, we're still sort of assessing how we're going to move forward with cloud, what those costs would be, so on and so forth. So concourse will be your best bet, but cloud is also an option, just under the impression to just be under the impression that it may go away or it may come at a cost here at some point in the future. All right, if I hit pause, you can actually go through this ECG scroll. Through your curve here. Little X-ray type view. All right. Okay, that's it for me. Any more questions? I mean, we like I said, we can touch on so much more, but our hour's up, and this is already a great place to start. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. For those that wanted additional resources, or if you want access to this recorded session, let me know in the chat. Please list your email address, and then I'll get that sent over to you. Is the training on Thursday the same as today's? Yes, more or less. It is the same introductory training.